Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. The 12 days of Christmas is a celebration, and unfortunately, that only takes part in Australia because it is 3-0 rich. Everything Glenn McGrath has said is coming true, and I actually don't know what to do with this. I sat on the toilet for 3 minutes. 2 wickets went down in that time, and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I'm driving into the gardening shop instead. That's what it's come to.
I think that was probably more exciting, more interesting from an England cricket fan's perspective than watching this absolute shambles. It's got me to the point I've not bothered staying up. I've listened to a little bit on the radio, but I've just, it's like yesterday, just expected the match to finish in quick time. And it did. It's just, there's nothing there with this squad. This is 2006-07 again. First tour I went over there. It's an embarrassment. It's a shambles. There is so much to get into. We can't do it all today. There's going to be such big questions, isn't there, in this one, of where it all went wrong and how we sort it out. I think today we just have a bit of a moan, bit of a rant.
Let it all out. It's emotional therapy for us to, people. I feel sorry for people in different ways. I feel sorry for the people staying up. And ultimately, I feel sorry for people that go, you know what, I'm going to go to bed, I'll wake up, I'll watch the score, I'll watch the highlights. And they look at the phone and the game finished 5 hours ago. That's heartbreaking. What a way to start your day.
Exactly. Look, it's been Christmas. I've got the tree up forward to get a little bit festive here today. I wasn't going to let cricket ruin Christmas. Not this year. We've had too many winters.
Not this time. You've been once bitten, twice shy. So what we're going to do, we're going to break down a whole bunch of talking points around the game going on, starting from the beginning, working our way through to the end, everything in between, and take a look at potentially what the squad might look like for the 4th and 5th test. Squad, team, players going out on the pitch, maybe even taking a piece of willow with them to try and bat at the same time. So
useful.
Starting off, and I've picked this one out. The 2 points around the selection which baffled me a little bit. One, Jack Leach is good enough to play Test cricket again.
Awesome. That's good to know, isn't it? I mean, they've picked him at the right grounds, definitely.
You go to Adelaide, play spinner. Oh, no, well, he got bullied in the game before. But you know what? 3rd test, 5 days later, he's absolutely fine to come back and play Test cricket. So rest rotation tied from his 7 overs for 300.
I've genuinely lost any sort of concept of understanding with the selection and what's going on with Silverwood and whoever else is making decisions with this team at the moment.
Just Silverwood. That's it. It's a one-man show, mate. Everything, the buck stops at the top because he's got all the power.
But there must be people feeding into him. The coaching staff are there. Root's got a say on things. He's not necessarily going to pick the team, but people have a say there as well. It's people influencing him. It's not just him making those decisions, but the decisions that clearly he's put his name to is undermining his ability to do this job after this series. Let's put it that way.
I like that. There's huge question marks. Twitter is like, what do you want for Christmas? Chris Silverwood's resignation, who is apparently seeing a lot of positives at the moment. So we're looking at different games.
Yeah, if anyone can point those out, actually, if anyone can tell me what the positives were that Chris Silverwood was talking about, that there were positives from this series so far, please do tell us, because we'd love to chat about positives. We ended last pod, didn't we, on positivity, a bit of positivity. I'd love to know what Silverwood's been talking about. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Positive train, the positive Chris Silverwood train. And there are, but just not with Willow. The other one, Rory Burns being dropped and Zach Crawley coming in. Now, Rory Burns has been given a huge amount of time in Test cricket, Rich, 31 Test matches, an average of 30. That is Cook, Strauss, Trescothick, Vaughan. He's the 5th most capped opener in the last 22 years of English Test cricket. His average has fluctuated massively. Averaged 35 back in 2019, scored an Ashes century. Things look good. Averaged 28 last year, 27 this year. Made the England team purely on weight of runs, not the attractiveness of his cricket on the pitch. Is that it? Is the fork officially done for Rory Burns?
It's a very good question. We spoke about this at length, didn't we, in the last pod as well. It wasn't necessarily about how well players are playing in position at the minute. It's who is going to replace them. And Rory Burns, that record is not great overall, is it? He's had a long run. Yeah. You could say he's had his time. Alistair Cook, I'll come back to what Alistair Cook was talking about before about Rory Burns. Does he want to go and play another 40 Test match? Well, clearly he doesn't, because he's not corrected any of those bizarre quirks, idiosyncratic, whatever movements. he just doesn't seem to want to do anything differently. He's got his way of doing it. He got himself into the Test arena by doing what he does, and he's carried it on, and he's not changed one damn thing. Yes, you're going to get dropped at some point. He's lucky he's made this many appearances. Dom Sibley could argue he's a little bit unfortunate compared to Rory Burns, but Burns did show a bit more in the summer, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about Rory Burns. It's just he's not taken that opportunity in the end, has he? He's had an extended run and nothing has changed. Talking of nothing's changed, they bring in Zach Crawley, who has spent, I don't know how long he's been on this tour so far. What has he been doing? Because he's clearly not corrected any of the issues he's had, which everyone found out about, that made him lose his place, and he comes back into the team this time as an opener, and he's still got the same flaws. What are we doing?
I don't know, mate. He didn't score a county ton.
Coaching him?
Yeah, he didn't score a county ton, which means he hasn't kind of headed in the right direction. He hasn't seen continuous growth or just moving more towards where he needs to be in Test cricket. If you take the Pakistan double century, or against any other team, the average is 4 against New Zealand, 16 against India, 8 against Australia, 32 v South Africa, 8 versus Sri Lanka, and 24 versus West Indies, and it's only Australia he's played a single Test match against. So there's huge concerns about what's going on with his bat, the angle of his bat, and the temperament of the player. He scores at a strike rate over 55 in county cricket in the last 3 years. That's someone that's very good at hitting the ball and scoring at a decent rate. That's absolutely fine. But the fact is he still averages 34, I think it is, in the last few years in county cricket, opening the batting. So what can you do? There's not that many players in this squad that you can bring in. Maybe it's part of that conversation we had about the Lions going, why aren't the Lions getting experience and touring around with this main team and playing state teams, playing, grade A club teams, just getting cricket, playing in Australia and representing England at a certain level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about Zach Crawley, obviously, because he replaced Rory Burns, and rightfully so. We're going to talk about the issues around this whole setup, and it's such a massive conversation, isn't it? And like I say, we're not going to try and get into all of it in one go. We're probably going to go around in circles and zigzag around this conversation. But the coaching, we don't want coaches at international level being interventionists to the point where you get in and they're trying to change everybody into a MCC manual batter or bowler or whatever it might be. But there has to be coaches helping them, correcting flaws, correcting technical issues, just straightening things off a little bit with batting, or just correcting tiny little things, helping. Nothing seems to happen. Nothing seems to change with any of these players. These players come to the England setup and do not improve. They get worse. Yeah. They go back to the county circuit, score runs because it's either a bit easier or, I don't know, whatever reason, but they don't become better players playing for England. Did I see somewhere since 2012, batters making the debut, not one's averaged over 40?
Yeah, that's right. Ben Folkes, I think, is the most with 31, maybe 32.
Yeah, but he's not as good a batsman as the other 2 wicketkeepers in the squad. Look, it baffles me. It really does. Zach Crawley, nothing against the guy. He's seen, when we saw him against Pakistan, he looked sensational. Yeah. But he's got a flaw. Nobody's corrected it. Has he gone out of his way to try and correct it? Is he doing anything for himself? I've no idea, but it clearly seems like he hasn't. Hasib Hamid, he's not getting out of this free. We love him. We're Notts fans. But I don't know what to say at the moment. He looks completely devoid of he doesn't look like he's going to be able to bat time, let alone score runs at the moment. Yeah. And he started the series okay. He looked okay that first hour or so. Yeah. And then it's pretty much gone downhill since then.
He looked good for an hour.
Get him in. Sign him up. What do we do? We're not going to talk about this now, but where do we go from this point? I just need to, on your point about Lions, I just want to quickly say Rob Yates was in the squad, wasn't he? Alex Lees was in the squad. Why didn't one of those people stay in the squad? Stay on, have a little bit of a winter in Australia. Sibley didn't even want to be in the Lions. And I can see why now, with how crap all the openers have done. He's thinking, I'm going to look amazing in the summer when I start scoring runs again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know. Australia made a couple of changes. Well, Richardson and Michael Nessa both out. And I think this is one thing that speaks volumes to the depth of the quality of the Australian bowling lineup. They're without Hazelwood. They were without Cummins and Hazelwood in the previous test, still won. This one, they brought in the ultimate horses for courses Martin Bicknell pick that I can ever remember. Scotty Boland comes in, a Victorian native, played at the G all his life. He's played there for years, but he's taken wickets. He's got an immaculate bowling average there, and they just make the ultimate selection choice, I think, out of anyone has ever made since time began. Come in for a test, mate, and go take 6 for 7 to win us the test.
It just seems out. Nisa was incredible in the second test, wasn't it? And this guy comes in. I was about to say his kid. He's 32. He's still young for us, I suppose, isn't he? But he's come in and just like test cricket. What? This is dead easy. It's just like playing Sheffield Shield. It's easy. It's probably playing like grade cricket, to be fair, the way we've batted.
It is. I think that's a little bit detrimental towards grade cricket. To be honest.
I think you might be right. I apologise, grade cricket fans.
It's a little bit of a shower. Now, we're not going to walk through the whole scorecard, but there's bits around this first innings that really needs addressing. Okay. So Crawley and Hamid both go early doors, and that's fine. That's the nature of this England team. It's the second worst opening average since World War II that we've got this calendar year for England test openers, and that's 70 odd years now. So that's pretty poor. Crawley, we didn't really expect much. We didn't see much. Australia like him because he's tall. When he came in, he's like, oh, he's tall. Yeah, we love tall people.
Wow, good for them.
Great, middle order play.
Well done, guys.
Hamid goes again. He's got another duck. He's in a world of hurt. I think that the question now becomes, does Hamid get given the same tolerances that Dom Sibley's poor year had and Rory Burns' poor year had?
I know what my answer is to that, but I don't want to jump on that one just too soon. It's interesting as well. Haven't we equaled the 1998 England record, though, for the most amount of ducks in a calendar year?
54.
Yeah, just while we're talking about what achievements, maybe these are the positives, by the way, that Silverwood's done. We've got achievements. We've also tied with Bangladesh, haven't we, for the most defeats in a test defeats in the calendar year as well. Yeah. So they might be the positive. But anyway, I don't know what Hamid's going to do, I'll be honest. And it would not surprise me in the slightest if he doesn't play in the next test.
Yeah, he looked gone a little bit, actually. He looked really deflated, and you can see the want to do it. He's getting some good balls, but the way I look at it, the Australians have played better because they've left better. The actual length of bowling from your main bowlers, especially in the second test, wasn't actually that great. There wasn't a vast difference in length. It was just they left good balls on length. England play those balls, and all of a sudden, the corner of the bat and the your gloves in Hamid's case start to come into play, and you're making things hard for yourself.
Yeah, I've got to just say, though, openers do get good balls. He is trying to occupy the crease. Second innings, he hung around for nearly an hour. He's trying to occupy. He's trying to stay there, see the new ball off and do his job. But he's getting good ones. Yes, he might not be playing perfectly every delivery with ease at the moment, but I don't think any of our openers would be. So he is at least trying. But when I say it wouldn't surprise me if he's out in the next test, it's because I don't think there will be the same level of patience with Hamid versus the likes of Burns and Sibley.
Yeah. Next one I want to raise is David Milan's had a great series, and he is one of the positives we've had. He's come in and looked good at number 3. But this isn't me trying to spin a negative on a positive. However, there's parts of his game that I'm starting to see reminiscent of 2017-18 and how Australia are bowling to him and starting to be quite effective. He made 14 here at a really slow rate for him. He normally scores a little bit faster than a 21 strike rate. That's even below Dominic Sibley territory. But I'm slightly concerned about that. Root was class. Stokes, Bairstow, Butler. Absolute white ball engine room of this Red Bull team. How we've spoke on the podcast before about being positive and positive intent. Positive intent doesn't mean being reckless. And I felt the dismissals here on the first day of a test match was a team that are like, we've just got to do something different. We've got to do something different. And 2 guys getting out trying to play ramps is on the first day of the test match. That's a great way to go. And Josh Butler, for his awful, terrible keeping in the second test match, followed by some spectacular catching, some woeful batting in the series, followed by an absolute humongous rear guard that almost got us over the line in the second test. Here plays possibly the worst shot I've seen on the whole tour. The ball before, I want to call it the ball before tee. He comes down the wicket. He tries to put line into the stands. Bat turns in his hands. He's caught halfway between the boundary and mid-wicket. And we go in for tee. Like, what do you do with that? Is that the brain of someone that's like, I'm done. I'm just going to try and go out on my own terms?
There's clearly a lot of frazzled players now. Whether that's just this series, whether that's a combination of the cricket calendar, everything building up, but some big decisions have to be made at the end of the series about who we go forward with. And perhaps there are some players like Butler, like Bairstow, and I know Bairstow, he's got his fans, and I'm sure he wants to play Test cricket. But people like them, they're into the 30s. We keep speaking about how sneaky old they are. Maybe they want to focus on white ball cricket going forward. I'm not suggesting it, but I just wonder if they might. And it might then give an opportunity to the likes of Ben Folkes to come in there and just go in a different direction. Because we've tried this Bairstow Butler, trial or whatever you want to call it, has lasted a long time, and we haven't really reaped the benefit in a Test arena from either of them.
No.
I do feel for Bairstow with how in and out he's been. He's been treated like we used to treat batsmen in the 90s and another decades, but I just don't see how we could progress with them. And it's when you are getting out in the way they're getting out, there's something not right anymore, is there? It's just brain dead.
It's good to see something different, because I feel at times England have just bottled it all up. You notice when you see Warner play, how hard he takes the singles, how hard he runs between the wickets. And I'm not saying England don't run hard, but I'm saying we're so this or that. It's so black and white. We're either
no in
blocking
between.
We're so black and white. Every ball's going to get us out, and we've just got to defend, or we need to hit boundaries. And this isn't T20 West Indian style cricket where dot balls are okay because you can clear the boundary 4 times in an over for the last 10 overs of the game. This is a different game.
Yeah, it shouldn't be dots and fours. It should be, like you said, David Warner, a great point. Run singles hard, rotate the strike. Hamid and Burns were doing that pretty well, especially in the first Test even as well, and the back end of the summer. Matthew Hayden was one of them players where I wasn't a big fan of until I saw him in the stadium. I've never seen anyone run as hard as him, especially as an opener, running between the wickets. He was exceptional. That's what puts pressure on opposition. Suddenly you are going at 3 or 4 and over rather than 1 and 2 and over.
Yeah.
If you can just work the gaps a little bit. I'm not talking about high risk, working it down to third man and going through third slipped hands or something. Just be sensible. There are gaps in the field. Be a little bit positive. Try and get out of that ... blockade. And then, I need to get the pressure off here. I'm going to try and smack one over the top for 4.
Yep.
We don't seem to have a plan. And that can't just be the players. That must be the coaching staff. That must be the setup. It's the captain. It's everyone. What is the plan for these batsmen?
Marnus does it well. I know Marnus is getting a lot of licks at the moment because he's playing so well. He's number 1 in the world. He leaves the ball better than anyone in Test cricket. And then when he plays the ball, other than the short ball from Ben Stokes, I think it was in the second Test, which we bowled too much in the end, it's intent. He's looking to either block or take a single, or if it's a bad ball, he's going to put it away. He's not trying to make the good ball a bad ball to put that away. And if it's a good ball, there's a chance he might be able to get a single because there's space at cover. It's just clever. And unfortunately, it's something that teams have done well over time, and we have just completely forgotten. And we're letting bowlers of high quality. Mitchell Stark is absolutely out of this world at the moment. Shane Warne, yes, he's swinging it. Yes, he's bowling well. 2 for 54 in the end. Pat Cummins is, I'm putting my hat down, is yet to bowl a bad ball in the Ashes. We've finished 3 Test matches.
I've not seen him bowl one ever, I'll be honest with you.
No.
He's just one of them blokes. Love him. Absolutely love him.
He's amazing. He's tall. He's handsome. He's nice. He's got the dime. He's hitting it every single time. There's a difference in bounce depending on what's going on with the pitch. He can nip it both ways. It's quick. It's not Ollie Robinson. And this isn't a negative on Ollie Robinson, because Ollie Robinson is the positive to come out of this England bowling unit from this year. He's absolutely exceptional. But the lack of pace, I think, if he had another 7 to 10K like Pat Cummins, you're talking about him in a Pat Cummins sort of situation, because he can do similar type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Cummins has shown as well, captaincy, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal. Bowler being a captain, it's fine. I know it's up against this England team. Don't want to be too disrespectful, but, can't help it at the moment, can we? We're talking about what's in front of us. But Pat Cummins has been great. It's been a great decision. We will, I'm sure, at some point get onto the conversation of whether Joe Root will endeavour and continue as a captain. And the way he's still talking at the moment, he deflected a question, didn't he, about captaincy, about focusing as a batsman, it's focusing on the next ball, the next over, the next session, blah, blah, blah. I can see him moving on from captaincy. Yep. Obviously, he'll still be the absolute anchor and linchpin of this batting lineup because he is the batting lineup. Yep. But I can see that this is the series that kills a captain. that means that you want to just go and focus on your cricket again. So maybe there's a bowler out there that can be a captain. Who knows?
Who would have thought it?
It's not just a batsman, because if we are just looking at batsmen, we're in big trouble for captain.
Yeah, we are, especially when we don't know what the lineup's going to be. Jack Libby coming in captain England and open the batting on debut, mate.
Is Adam Hollyoake still available, especially as captain?
He could well be. 185 all out. It's another miserly total by England. I think one player I need to call out here at the start of the series, Nathan Lyon was nearing the end of his Test career. He was on 399 wickets. He got smacked around by India. And in the first Test match, he looked very ineffective until he got his 400th wicket. And since then, he's been on a roll, 3 for 36 off 14 overs. It's not just the 3 wickets, it's absolute control, but it's not negative control like we're trying to use Jack Leach in now. And that's not a hit on him. That's just how we're using him. It's trying to take wickets, and he's being effective doing it. He's got 12 wickets at an average of 21 for a spinner in Australia is outstanding, considering Jack Leach is going, it's 8 and over, 7 and over, something ridiculous. But for England, really, really poor position. The day closes on day one, Rich. Australia are about 64 for 1. But it's a positive 64 for 1. And I hate using the P word. I'm dropping the P word a lot here. But it was counter-attacking. It was fluent. It was putting the bad ball away. It was running really hard. And it was positive intent about every single thing they did. They did not let the England bowlers settle. David Warner went just before the end. But day one, I don't know. As an England fan, I looked at this and went, this is the worst possible day we could have had. The only way it could have been worse was if Australia had 10 wickets left at the end of the day. They had 9.
Yeah, and that's fair, obviously. But when you look at how that innings ended, 267 all out in the end, wasn't it? It's a good response from England. Any other time, if England could actually bat a little bit, instead of the 185, if we get that 220, 250, it's even Stevens. There's not much in it in this Test match. So you've got to give credit, I think, as well to the England bowling staff. I mean, James Anderson bowled fantastically well, didn't he?
Oh, what a spell!
It looked like a wicket every ball just about coming, and there's nothing better than a Jimmy Anderson spell when he's going like that. And Ollie Robinson and Mark Wood taking a couple of wickets apiece, along with Stokes and Leach. So it was a good comeback, I thought, from England.
Yeah, but it has been all series, hasn't it? We've bowled well all series.
And that's what we spoke about before. We've bowled well at times, but we have bowled well. We haven't caught. So that means that we have to do everything twice. We have to take 15 wickets most innings, it feels like. Maybe, that's extravagant, but all right, 12 wickets each innings. But they have bowled pretty well. I'm not happy and set on the make of this attack still. I think Stuart Broad is being massively underutilised at the moment, and it's such an important game. I think you need to get your best players, your most experienced players, the ones that want the fight, in there. Whether Jack Leach should have been in this squad or this team is a completely different question, isn't it? We talk, like I said, we're going to zigzag around a little bit here, but we talk about how underprepared England was. Jack Leach is the absolute example of underprepared, isn't he, in this series? He's hardly had any cricket. And again, it's not a criticism of him per se, it's the organisation, the setup, the planning. So why bother when you've got an ineffectual spinner? Why play him at the moment?
I don't know. What does it do to someone's confidence? And we've done it with Bess. We've done it with Leach. Like the rest of rotation has absolutely just boiled down to ruining people's years and potentially careers. We treated Bess like he was something on the bottom of the shoe. We've done the same to Leach. We played on a spinning track and gone, we don't trust you. Now we're playing at the G, which has been a road with these dropping pitches year on year, and this time we get a pitch with a bit of grass that does a bit. So it's a little bit hard, but it doesn't come to the fact that you're not enabling your players to be the best versions of themselves when they go out onto the pitch.
No, and that comes down to coach and captain. Joe Root has been brilliant as a batsman, but he's not getting away scot-free from how we have played. It has to come back to captain as well as coach. Jack Leach, you're absolutely right. There's no, if I'm Jack Leach, I don't feel confident. Absolutely not. And also, is anyone looking at these tracks before they pick the team? Yeah, because it was like quite a ridiculously, relatively speaking, ridiculous amount of grass on the pitch.
It was 11 centimeters. The groundsman in me is going 11 centimeters.
You're not 11 millimeters.
11 millimeters. I was going to say 11 inches to start with. I was like
11 centimeters.
Like playing it well.
That's still a lot of grass. So it's green and there's a lot of grass on it. Oh, do you know what we'll do this week? Well, instead of Bolt playing the spinner at the spinning track, we're going to put him on that other really green track that was even more green and had more grass in it than the Gabba. We'll play him on those ones. It is brain dead. I don't understand the logic of it whatsoever. It's almost like they've gone out to the toss. They picked the team in the pub the night before and just whatever. That's the 11 that's turning up. So it doesn't really matter. We're going to play with a spinner.
It's the club cricket thing. Who can play an away game this week? Who can play away?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, I can only play at home. I'm working in the morning. No, that's because you're playing top of the league, mate. You just want to play at home. You don't want to get smashed.
Oh, man, absolutely. But bowling has been the better. If we had to pull a positive, it has been the bowling attack. Yes, we haven't took the catches, but bowling attack has been better. And England at that point, 267 all out for Australia, following the 185 all out, was an okay position. So all you're looking for now is England to dig in, to see off the new ball, be disciplined, leave well, like Hamid was doing in the first test, in the first innings, where he was leaving the ball on length as much as anything else, wasn't it? Not just on line. And just make sure we're there. You know, we've got a chance to actually put up a score that we can then force Australia to sweat a little bit in having to chase a total that they might not feel comfortable doing. So that's not, we're not asking for a lot there, are we?
Well, you're not, but...
So what happened next, Rob?
The words I've used to describe this are amazing, satisfying, fulfilling, disappointing, anger. I felt all of those in that last hour of day 2. It was everything that you want Test cricket to be. It was mesmerizing. The crowd were eating and just living and breathing every single ball that was bowled, and every single ball felt like it was going to take a wicket.
So it basically everything you've just said, unless you're an England fan. So,
it was. You
want it to be a test. This is what you want Test cricket to be, unless you're an England cricket fan.
Taking a backseat away from being an England fan, it was amazing. It was, you have these moments that you get in Test cricket that you don't get in any format, where you just get these special moments where you've got 50,000 people just all engulfed in the same thing. Every moment, every ball. I think the best moment I felt in cricket for a long time was the World Cup quarter final, I think it was, New Zealand, Australia back in 2015. And it was a packed Eden Park, and Australia got rolled, New Zealand got rolled. Kane Williamson hit a 6 to win them the game at the end with 1 wicket remaining. But the whole crowd was going mental for every single dot ball until Kane Williamson could get on strike to knock off those last 20 runs. And this is an opposite effect. This is rabbits in the headlights, bowlers just feeling like they're going to get a wicket every ball. And I don't think there's a better thing as a cricket fan to go, wow, everyone is in this moment together. And this would have been incredible for an Australian fan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is what you dream of, isn't it? Especially against England. This is the fun stuff. But it's heartbreaking, though, as well, isn't it, from an England cricket fan? Because you start thinking, well, this is not bad. You start talking yourself into thinking maybe we've got a chance of actually getting something back in this test match. Maybe the series isn't over. And then by the time you wake up, the night watchman's out, left one with a bloke bowling around the wicket. Again, frazzled minds, isn't it? Surely. I know we're talking about we need to leave better, but Christ alive, you're going to get cleaned up with a bloke coming around the wicket. Maybe it's not the line to leave.
Yeah. It was hard, but it was high quality bowling. Cummings was out of this world to say, I don't think he took a wicket on that
he didn't.
End of the second day, but he was just amazing. And I think that's the thing that you've got. You've got him being amazing. Stark will take wickets and bowl wicket-taking deliveries with a new ball. He pushed one across Zach Crawley. No surprise, Zach Crawley nicked off. But I think the one that really hurt was when David Malan looked like it was 10 mile an hour too quick for him. It hits him in the pads. Really? And that's the moment. That's Test cricket. When a bowler is just on and he feels that momentum, it is like he's bowling a ball 10 mile an hour quicker, even though the radar gun might say 2 or 3. But it just, it's special, Test cricket. And it's moments like that make it special.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good shout. And even if you are on the receiving end, if you are England, you can still appreciate that if you're a fan of Test cricket, even though it is a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. But you talk about you kind of made me start thinking about Stuart Broad when you're speaking in those terms, because that's the character, that's the guy we have in this squad, in this setup, that can ride that wave and that can put that spell in. And I don't think there's anybody else. I think there's players that can play well. Jimmy Anderson is obviously arguably the greatest that's ever done it, especially from an English perspective. But he's not usually a knock over a team in a session bowler. Ollie Robinson has done pretty well, and he's positive. He's taking his wickets at about mid-20s in this series, I think. He's done well. He can hold his head up high on the way home. But there's nobody else in his setup at the minute that can go and completely destroy a batting lineup like Stuart Broad can. And I'm not saying I know exactly how this team should have been picked, but I'd always think if you're trying to win a game and you're trying to save a series, it's 2-0 in a 5-match series, you need to win this one or at least draw to stay in it. I need Stuart Broad in my team. And you have exactly just described what he can bring to you if he's firing and if the crowd's behind him and you get that right piece, right time in a test match and that right momentum. And we just miss players like that, I think, in times like this. And credit to Australia. I mean, Scott Boland.
I think that's
Needs
it.
a last test, him this one.
We're 2 for 7, mate, and we closed the day at 22 for 4. And I think what's disappointing is Starks bowled amazing, Cummins bowled amazing, Scotty Boland comes on, takes 2 wickets.
Easy.
He gets Hamid out, who's caught behind, I think it was again.
But he's hung around.
Yeah. Does he need a break? Maybe mentally switched off, but then Jack Leach comes in as night watchman, last 2 balls off stumps, pegged back. And the atmosphere and noise, like, I'm not kidding you, I could hear it from Auckland in New Zealand, mate, without the TV on. It was absolutely insane. And then the next day rolls around and we see what is an England procession being bowled out for 68. It's something we've seen. I think we've been bowled out for less than 105 times in the last couple of years. But Scotty Boland was exceptional, and it was almost like this can't be happening. This can't be happening. But at the same time, and I felt emotional for him because he's 32. Never thought he'd play Test cricket. He's called up and he's going back to the stands and they're chanting his name, and I could feel myself welling up for him. I'm like,
special, man.
What a moment! And then he's on the ground with a beer and his kid after the game, and it's just like that's the greatest professional moment of his life, playing out in front of 50,000 people. But England were just they bowled well. England, they bowled exceptionally well. Let me make no mistake about that. But we were toothless. Ben Stokes was really poor footwork. Joe Root, hard drive, just looking like he's trying to be too positive, just like I can't put up with this shit anymore. Johnny Bairstow was unlucky. It was an umpires call twice on the review. Yeah. That's pretty hard. And I'd put that in the very unlucky category. But they're the rules of the game. You're still out if it meets the umpire's criteria.
But that's the thing. We spoke about this before, and plenty of more intelligent people have as well. The stumps are bigger now. That's how you have to see it. The stumps are bigger because if the umpire says it's out and it's clipping the top of off or wherever, and it's a millimetre of the ball clipping, if the umpire said it's out, it's out. So therefore, the stumps are an inch or so bigger than they used to be. So it is a difficult one, especially when you're having a run of umpires' calls getting you out. You've got to be looking at that and thinking the umpires, yes, they're correct in their decisions, but they're guessing. They're not making the right decision, in my opinion. If your ball's clipping, there's too much doubt there. So they've missed something. But I'm not blaming umpires for this, don't get me wrong. So that's the least of our worries, the least of our problems.
It actually is the least of our worries. But,
I stayed up, just quickly, I stayed up to listen to the start of play. I've refused to watch it. I'm not going to waste my eyes on this cricket at the moment, but I listened to some of it, and I think the first wicket went, and that was it. 5 lives gone. That's it. It's like, this is going to be a procession now. Actually, I think just before I turned it off, I don't think I even had a chance to turn it off after the first wicket. Felt like the second wicket fell quite quickly afterwards. So that was it, wasn't it? And then I expected this to be finished quite quickly, but not quite. Didn't score as many runs in an innings versus what Marcus Harris got in the first innings.
Yeah, exactly. Marcus Harris.
Outscored
we'll touch on Marcus Harris in a second. I want to finish on Boland. Only one bowler in men's Test cricket has conceded fewer runs while taking 6 wickets in an innings, which was Jermaine Lawson against Bangladesh in 2002. Boland's efforts go down as the cheapest 5-wicket haul on Test debut ever. At 32 years and 259 days at the start of the match, making him the oldest pacer with 5-wicket haul on men's Test debut since 1950.
Nice.
This is got the there could be a movie about this.
Yeah.
It's got that feel.
I thought that's where you're going. Plus, as well, his story as well. It's not just about a 32-year-old who's Victorian playing at the MCU and making his debut and taking 6 wickets. He's an Indigenous Australian, isn't he? It's a great thing that as well that somebody of his heritage and his background has stepped up and done this against England.
Yeah.
When the ECB is still mired in the absolute muck of the racism scandal at Yorkshire and all, and I'm sure that will be even bigger by the time it's all finished. So it's quite, I don't know what the right word, not fitting. I don't want to say that, but it's a nice story to see him do that, have that success, that they're bringing those cricketers in. Australia have got their issues, obviously, but they're bringing those cricketers in and he's having great success. It's kind of nice to see that. And that builds it up and makes it an even better and bigger story, doesn't it? It's like, come on, Disney, get involved with the Scott Boland story.
It's great how they made a film in New Zealand called The Kick. So when New Zealand won the 2011 Rugby World Cup, their 3 first fly halves were out injured. And they called up Stephen Donald to come in, who was farming in Hamilton to play the World Cup final against France. So,
nice.
It's incredible. Also, one more star on Boland, 19 deliveries to take his 5-wicket haul, which is joint fewest amount of balls ever. And you were there. Stuart Broad also took 19 wickets at Trent Bridge in 2015 for his 5-wicket haul against Australia when he got 8 for 15.
Legend. Broady. Broady
loves it. So disappointing from England, and I've got some questions to talk through.
You reckon? Okay.
Root as captain. Let's start off. Root as captain. Yes or no?
So Root is the joint most wins as Test captain with Alistair Cook, I believe, but he's also got one of the highest. I don't know how to say this now because I looked at it earlier, but there's also a high amount of defeats as well. So I don't know if it's the most defeats as captain.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't keep captains this long historically, did we? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means longevity. You're going to have a lot of defeats as well as a lot of wins.
Yeah.
So yes, equal with Alistair Cook. I've never been overly convinced with Joe Root as a captain. I think it took him a long time to find his way into who he was as a captain. I think he was led quite a lot by the senior players in the team. He's then sort of found his way a little bit and had a bit of a spell, but he doesn't quite seem to be the guy. And I don't know who it should be. And again, we spoke about this before. It's not just about who should miss out because they're not good enough. It's who can replace them.
Yeah.
Now, for me, Joe Root has been exceptional this year. I don't think there's ever been a year, has there, with a guy scoring so many runs and the next person, there's such a gap between the two.
Most all time. Even from an England point of view, and also from a number 1, number 2 in world cricket point of view. Rohit Sharma's number 2 with 900 runs. The gap between 1 and 2 is the most it's ever been.
Yeah. So just the year he's had, we're going to look back on this year and just be thinking, what a waste. We could have achieved so much this year if we'd have had half a setup. And again, where the issues have arisen from, why we've ended up with a setup like this, is a huge conversation. It can go a long, long way, but we're not going to go there. Joe Root is a captain. Love Joe Root. Joe Root has been an inspiration. He's been amazing this year. We need him. We need him to be at his best. I need to see Joe Root relinquish that captaincy, hand it over to somebody else, and just be Joe Root, the batsman at number 4.
He looked tired. And I think that's the first time I've really seen him because he's always been such like a baby-faced little character. Yeah. And this Ashes series, I think, is the tipping point for him as a captain. I think what's difficult for us is that he's been so good as captain, particularly this year, it's brought out the best of him. If you look at his overall captaincy record, he averages 47. If he's not captain, he averages 52. But 2021 has really made Joe Root you can make a call for putting him at the top of the Fab Four. Over the last 18 months, he's been that good. Yeah. I wouldn't want it to be a tarnished finish to his relationship with England as captain, and then it has a detrimental effect. I think if he wants to step down, he can step down. If he wants to stay, I'd actually let him stay because I don't think there's another suitor for that role.
I think you're absolutely right, and I didn't obviously make that point when I was talking, but that's the important part of it. I would like to see him step down. That's what I'd like to see, but I'd like it to be him deciding he wants to step down. And when I read earlier, that's what made me start thinking about it. He sounds like a man that is seriously considering it or has even made his decision already.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that is the case, but that's just how I've read it. if he wants to say he's captain, how the hell do you turn around to Joe Root, the one-man batting lineup, and say, no, we don't want you as captain? How do you tell him that? Who the hell is going to take it? Ben Stokes, with all due respect, if he gets it, Ben Stokes doesn't have a massive, catalogue of experience of captaincy, as far as I'm aware. And who else do you go to? Wokes? Do you go to Anderson? I don't know, because there's no one really in this team that's got a spot solidified as much as Stokes or Root. So yeah, if Root wants to continue, then I think you have to let him.
Yeah.
I think you do get to the point with him where you try and work out what's best for him. We had this whole thing with him batting at 3 or 4. We settled in what's best for him. Captaincy or not captaincy, we need to work out what's best for him.
That's fair. Cool.
Convince him if we need to, but I don't think going forward he should be the man. I just want him to be Joe Root, the batsman, the number one batsman in the world, and go and establish himself. Go and put some daylight between the likes of Steve Smith and Kohli and Williamson. And I'm not going to class Labuschagne in that at the moment. He's just on a great run. He hasn't done enough yet to tell me he's one of the best in the world. But yeah, just I'd rather see that. So that's my elongated take on the Joe Root captaincy conversation.
I like it. I think it's fair. Chris Silverwood, and there's 2 points to this. 1, should he be the head coach going forward? And 2, should he have responsibility for everything like no England coach has had previous?
I don't know enough about what coaches are out there who would be interested in the job. 90% of the year probably traveling around the country, hotels. You can go and get jobs, T10 here, T20 there, 50, I don't know, whatever. You can go and get whiteboard gigs all over the world and make more money than being the test or overall head coach, selector, whatever of England. So it all comes back to that with every single decision we make. It's not about who's in the team and who should be out the team. It's who can come in. And it's the same with Silverwood. I'm not saying we keep him just because, but you've got to get someone that's going to be an improvement. That's the first thing. As a coach, I don't think he's made, he's one of those, he's part of the setup, wasn't he? I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing at the moment with the ECB. I don't really like anything that's associated with them or that they've put the time and effort in. Maybe we go outside again. I have no idea, but I don't like how we've come to, with the fact that he's doing the selecting as well. It's far too much responsibility. Yeah, I can understand why England did it in the first place, because the Adam Smith experiment wasn't working. There was some personal relationships and stuff. There was some issues all over the place, wasn't there? It wasn't just who he was picking. But this is too much. This is way, way too much. How the hell can he coach? How can he, focus on his relationship with his captain and how his captain's games? How can he improve the bowlers? How can he improve batsmen if he's also responsible and taking all that time trying to look at who the best cricketers are? He said that this is probably the best 18 players in the country who have been on this tour. I think it was him. It might have been Root, but I'm pretty sure it was Silverwood. It was Silverwood, was it?
I think no, Root.
Or was it Root?
It was Root.
Yeah.
I saw the quote on Twitter today.
But they're speaking for each other, aren't they? They're going to be saying the same things. And if they genuinely do think that, we've got a fundamental issue with the setup and with how they're identifying talent. And that's just at England. We can go all the way back to schools when we're talking about identifying talent.
Yeah. You know what? There's probably a long conversation about that's where the problem starts.
Huge. Well, you've got to go to the right schools, haven't you, to be a county cricketer and then to be an international cricketer. If you don't go to the right, private.
If you want to be a batsman,
schools,
mate, if you want to be a batsman, you need to come from a family of wealth. That is the general consensus, because the amount of coaching, but bowlers come from the mines. I'm rolling back the years here and making stereotypes. Yeah,
just a very quick point. I saw this earlier on Twitter from Tom Brown 1593 at Twitter. All the male batters have made the debut for England since 2011. 95% white, 77% privately educated. It's like, come on, where are we looking for the players, though? It seems like, you know this, sorry, I've jumped in, Rob, but you know it yourself. South Notts cricket, where we play, if you don't play, or Basset Law in our region for Notts Prem, if you don't play for 3 or 4 clubs, Trent Bridge, Notts are not going to be looking at you. Or if you are a young lad at another team, they're going to get you away to one of them 3 or 4 clubs. They only look in certain areas. We are missing out on talent all over the place, whether it be schools, whether it be clubs, wherever. It's only a very small section of society that have scouts and coaches' eyes placed on them and given those long opportunities.
Yeah. I think the one thing about the 70% education rate is it's not their fault that they've got access to these things. And that's
no.
I'm not saying you're saying that, but I've seen this on Twitter. It's not their fault, and it's not Zach Crawley's fault that Terry the Till flies him off to Perth to go and play Perth cricket. That's just really good fortune on their part that they're in that position, and Terry the Till's got a few dollars in his cash. The problem is that we don't, or haven't, I don't know what schemes are out there at the moment, done enough to get into public schools in front of kids and go, hey, this is cricket. It's awesome. Come play, have a great time. It's a great sport for everyone. That's where I feel we've really let ourselves down over 20 years, as well as not having cricket, test matches on TV for, what was it, 15 years?
Yeah, well, 2005, wasn't it? After everybody's Ashes, the non-cricket loving public watched that Ashes. That's how important that was. Lord knows what we could have done after that if we'd have carried on terrestrial TV and kept that wave moving along. There's so many things we can look to, isn't it? Access to terrestrial TV is one. People aren't seeing cricket. Schools, how many schools now are playing cricket, unless you are the private schools that are getting these ex-England internationals going to coach them? There's so many things we can look at. We are missing out on talent left, right, and centre. You look at other sports. American football have got an academy in England now.
Yeah,
they're looking for players with sort of attributes, and then getting them into a new sport, making it. There's ways of doing it. We just don't seem to bother. We just look at, this is the funnel. This is where the players start here in all the clubs, and we filter them down into certain clubs. Then they go here, and that's it. That's all we're looking at. And it's no fault of their own. These individuals, they've been brought up and brought through these schools, but there has to be more roots into this setup than there has been. And massive conversation.
I'm going to make one call for defending Silverwood, because I feel
go for it.
We need to give a balanced view on him. It's not his fault that England players can't bat.
True.
that is the defending point, that he's picking the guys who have been around Test cricket or generally have done well in county cricket to a certain extent, and are the highest run scorers in county cricket. And they've not made the step up. And that could be, institutional. It's around the coaching, the setup, what they're doing to get the players prepared, or the players just aren't good enough. Remember, Vaughan, Tresco, guys like this, average mid-30s in county cricket, came forward, huge runs at Test cricket. Marnus was the same. Stop talking about Marnus. He's the new KP for me. It's not his fault.
I've said entirely, not entirely his fault. And I'm not kind of crucifying Silverwood. I don't know enough. Like I said, I don't know enough about who else is out there that could do a better job. So I don't want to just get rid of him if we're going to get someone a worse version of himself. But he is ultimately in charge of the coaches that coach underneath him, whether they're the batting coaches, bowling coaches, whatever they might be. There has to have been conversations with how they work on these players when they're in the squad.
Yeah.
So why are these players not improving when they hit the international level? Yes, there's some of these faults or tweaks or whatever in technique should have been sorted before they get to the international level. But if they haven't been, somebody at some point needs to grab hold of them, whether that's Trescothick, Collingwood, whoever, Graham Thorpe, whoever's in this setup. The head coach ultimately is dictating how much or how involved people are. It doesn't seem to me as if this setup wants to particularly tinker with any of these players' techniques and improve them.
Yeah. And you've got to look at it and you've got to go, what are players' value these days? Because what it used to be, speaking for everyone, having never played county cricket, county cricket, get a county contract, play for England. If you're not playing for England, go overseas, go to Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, go and play cricket in the winter. Now county cricketers want the white ball contracts because that's huge money. It's life-changing money for a period of time. So you get the guys who are probably at the upper echelon of hitting a cricket ball in England, and they're going to go, well, I've played Sri Lanka, I've played Bangladesh, I've played Caribbean. Then I'm going to go and play in the Abu Dhabi T10.
That's the money. Happy, great career, great life.
Amazing life. Different format, different objectives, and not going to make you a better Test cricketer. And that's something that I don't think we can change unless there is money in domestic cricket, which there's not anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and I just want to put it out on the record here, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, county cricket per se is not responsible for this failure. The 18 counties as themselves, that setup isn't responsible. It's how this calendar has been put together. It's the focus on gimmicky competitions like the 100. It's the moving to start and end of summers and messing around with the calendar with county cricket. Don't blame counties. We don't need to go to a city-based system. We can't. The tradition's too much. We can't change that. But it's how we are dealing with and looking after Test cricket. And basically summing it up, we're not looking after Test cricket. We're not looking after 4-day county cricket. So therefore, we're not looking after the Test cricket. And if we don't, that's where the money comes from into the ECB coffers.
Yeah.
If people stop wanting to watch on TV, if they stop wanting to go and sell out Test matches, that's when they'll start paying attention. Maybe, I don't know, but we've completely neglected 4-day cricket, and this is the end result. Before 2015, was it 2015, the World Cup, where we was absolutely embarrassed in Australia, and then they had a root and branch review, and then we won the World Cup, didn't we? 4 years later,
we'll have the same thing, mate. There will be a report out of this when it finishes off 5-0. Pessimistic, yes. Factual, yes. But that's what will happen. They'll look at it. It is a conversation for a different podcast, one that I'm really, really keen to do, and have been putting thought into about how the hell do you structure English cricket, because it's not going away. I see huge benefit to the 100, and I didn't at the start, but I've softened over time, and I think it is an amazing way to get a format on terrestrial TV and cricket in front of kids, and it's fun, and you could see the joy in kids' faces. The T20 did that anyway, but this is going to make the ECB more money. Irrelevant. They're all going to be around. You need to find a way to structure county cricket to fit in with the calendar. And for me, that is going away from playing 14, 16 games a season. It's got to be less. You've got 18 teams, split them into 3 groups in a division, have quality, high-grade Division 1 cricket at the top, which is the pinnacle. Increase your overseas players, have 2 overseas players in your team, so you've got a better quality and better players coming in to play with. And then you've essentially got 66 players taking the pitch, playing Div 1 cricket, 10 games a season, playing against some international stars coming in as well. And you create intensity around the game. That was one thing I took away from this season's campaign with the group stages. In that initial 10 games, it was like, wow, there's meaningful cricket most weeks. Create that and create a structure where you've got top, middle and bottom. Teams can promote, relegate going forward. So you can't play 14, 15 games a season.
No. So just to clarify, you're talking about basically having that 3-tier system like we've had, but not then going to this playoff system afterwards. It's literally, or going to different groups. It's literally 10 games a season, home and away against the other 5 opponents in your top division, whoever that 6 may be, and that's your county season. It's a good shout.
10 games a season works in New Zealand.
And
I
don't see why not.
With 5 million people, with 80% less players, and they can field a good white ball and test team. It works in Australia. Australia didn't play test matches from January onwards, but they still play real high quality. It might not be as good as what it was in the 90s, but it's high quality, intense Sheffield Shield cricket that means something for a period of time. And just make sure you've got the games going on during the right months. And I'm not saying every game needs to be played in August because it's the best wickets, because school holidays should be about getting kids to the grounds.
I think that's the key. I think, the way you've put that, though, I think that's absolutely bang on right. And I think it is the scheduling, though. We have to put that suit 4-day red ball cricket.
So I think that's a complete podcast for itself, because I've been putting pen to paper on this. It's getting serious. It's pen to paper, trying to plan it out.
I've got to just give you credit as well, actually. The 2 overseas, I think we have to come back to that. It has to. We had that for a while, and it just raised the standard so much. With the players we were getting over was incredible. So
exactly.
I'm all for that
you can see it from both directions. You can see people going, well, if they pick 2 overseas batsmen, then there's only 4 top English players in that team, and it's like, well, those bowlers are getting better playing against it. Likewise, if 2 bowlers, there's 2 fast bowlers or a fast bowler and a spinner from overseas, you know what? Our Div 1 cricketers are playing against Hasaranga. Hasaranga's retired. No, Hasaranga's right. But you're playing against someone of high quality. And face it, county cricket, it's got to be done.
You've got to raise it, and this is the thing, the whole point has got to be, you've got to take that pot of players in county cricket, you've got to get the best going to the top, and you've got to get them ready. They have to be played. They can't just go to county cricket and not accidentally score 1,000 runs, but actually they have to be challenged
Yeah.
And really grit and really work hard and really apply themselves and bat time and understand game situations, and not just like, oh, where are we today? What are we doing today? Oh, I'm just going to bat for an hour. Oh, I've got 60 odd. That'll look nice. My average is looking all right. You have to do more than that to keep your place. Some of these lads playing county cricket, fair play to them all. I would have loved to have been the 16th man in a county squad for 10 years.
Yeah.
That'd have been a great little livelihood, I'm sure. But you've got to get it to the point where there's better players playing for these counties, and that it's getting, it is real competition. And then we might see that we start reaping the benefits in the test arena. Because it's not just about ability, is it? It's about temperament that we always talk about, but it's also mentality. All those things combined make it. You can have a great temperament, but if you don't want to score any runs, or you don't want to see the moment and have that real positive winning mentality, temperament and ability is nothing. So yeah, big question. I love the thoughts you've had on that, mate. Honestly, I couldn't disagree with any of those points. Bit taken aback by the 100 point, but I do take what you're saying. We could have just had T20 on TV, but yes, if the ECB is going to make more money, they're going to get behind it. And if it's here, we have to find a way around it. But if you had to do a root and branch review of what's going on, the first thing you'd probably do is rip out the 100 and put in a domestic T20 competition, because at least we're then still working towards an international T20 and then a World Cup T20. What we've done is we've won the World Cup in the 50 over game, and now we've turned it into a second 11 competition. Yeah, so in 4 years or whatever years time, we're going to be going, oh, I don't know why we've been crap at 50 over international ODIs again. So it's the cycle starts again, doesn't it?
It does, mate. Last question. And I'm going to start off with some stats, and you can pick this apart. Right. At the 25 openers who averaged the most in county cricket in the last 3 years, we've tried 9 of them.
And there's one at the top of that, isn't there? That's not been anywhere near it.
Dom Sibley is way above anything else over the last 3 years in minutes batted per dismissal, balls per dismissal, his batting average. Jake Libby's number 2. Yeah. And I delved into Jake Libby a little deeper, which is something that he wasn't expecting.
No.
His average is exceptional. His average at home is exceptional, which is what you'd expect from New Road, where openers averaged 66 in the last few years.
It literally is a new
But he
road.
averaged 44 away from home this year, which is up on his average over the last 3 years was 34 away from home. He averaged 44 this year. Jake Libby, question mark, come the West Indies tour, or is he not even thought about? And you've got Alex Lees, who averages, I'm looking at this, about 46, 47. A Tom Haynes, maybe a little bit young, but a Rob Yates, who's come through and averaged 44, 45 over the last couple of seasons as well. So we've used a lot of players is the point of this, but two, if you openers is the biggest issue we've got. Who do you bring in? Because we need 2 of them.
I think we could be looking for 2 new ones. I really like Hasib Hamid, but I just wonder if this England team will have patience with him. I don't know why. I'm not going to start filling any gaps in or say what's in the back of my mind with this, but I just don't think they will have patience with him. I think going back to Sibley would be wrong, because I don't believe he will be a player that's different enough. The version 2.0 of Dom Sibley will not be different enough. Technical issues and the fact that he can't score on one side of the wicket. I don't think he might start that for a while, but I think he'll drop back into who he is. Zach Crawley, no, just no. All right, he's not an opener for me. So Jake Libby, absolutely, why not? I wonder though. This is a whole thing about how these players get through to the very top of the game. Minor counties player, then was Trent Bridge. He's late 20s now, and he's at Worcester. They're all kind of minuses, aren't they?
Yeah, if he wasn't playing at Worcester, he'd probably get picked, right?
That's the point. And he came through minor counties as well, didn't he, before he came to Nottinghamshire? He came through late. Forget about not letting him go. That's another conversation. But if he's not at Worcester, if he's playing at Yorkshire, we know what happens. He's opening the batting for England already. Yeah. There's a mentality with these selections and how we look at things. Oh, New Road. They're probably not delving into it. He scored most of his runs at New Road. There's no point looking into it. Well, actually, no, he's scoring a lot of runs elsewhere. He doesn't play every game at New Road. So, yes, absolutely. Why not give him an opportunity?
And he actually played, I made an assumption he played half his games at New Road. Actually, it was only about 33% of the games were played at New Road that he's played in.
Oh, okay. It's interesting.
Again, it's someone that's scoring runs. Hassan Azad, he scored his runs at Leicester, but he scored scored a lot of runs, averaged a lot for multiple years.
Yeah.
with a rubbish team. And that's not an offence to Leicester. They are generally in the bottom two of county cricket batting averages or results year on year.
Yeah,
he is excelling. Why don't we take it? And it's not going, get all these players in, but you'd like to think there's some sort of short list, and they're bringing them in. They're doing some nets with them. They're talking to them. They're finding out what the ticker, what makes them work. How do you go under pressure?
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's not just how many runs they've been scoring over a number of years. Yes, that's a good sign that they do it consistently and they've got something about them and they can bat time, blah, blah, blah. But you have to work out what they've got. Have they got the temperament? Have they got the right mentality to play international cricket and not just survive at international and average 30? You need them to thrive. So we need to understand that. There's like Rob Yates, isn't there, at Warwickshire, that keeps being talked about. He was on the Lions tour as well. He's somebody that Paul Farbrace has pointed as being a player that probably does have the right temperament. But bear in mind, he is director of cricket at Warwickshire, where Rob Yates plays his cricket. And funnily enough, he also said he thinks Dom Sibley should probably get another opportunity. He's going to say that. Obviously, he's a guy that his words are going to get some weight, aren't they? As being an ex-England coach. So there are people like Rob Yates out there as well. Tom Haynes, I was surprised that he was completely overlooked, but I haven't seen enough of him to understand. I've seen the scorecards. I've seen snippets of his play, but I don't know enough about him. Obviously, England aren't convinced yet. I don't know who else is out there. Libby, Hazard, Yates and Lees, and then obviously Tom Haynes. Who else is there? I don't know how many more options we have at the top of the order.
Well, you've used them. You've used Keaton Jennings. You've used Rory Burns. I'm looking at last season's stats here. You've used Dom Sibley. You've used Adam Lyth. You've used Hamid. You've used Stoneman. You have used Zach Crawley. And Sir Alistair Cook is unavailable for selection. And I think I've got 20 players on this. That's about half of them.
Yeah, that's it. Where'd you go? So you've got to be bold, haven't you? And if they do decide that Hamid isn't the guy going forward, which I hope that they do persevere with him, and I hope that he has that innings that just makes it all click and he's a different player at international level. But if they don't, 2 new openers, we've got to get him in there. We've got to be looking at other players that we think have got the right temperament as well. Harry Brook at Yorkshire is somebody we spoke about. We thought that he might have made his way into this squad for the Ashes. I think it's Yorkshire, isn't it? Get people like him into this international arena, get them into this setup, allow them to grow alongside Root, alongside Stokes and others, because we're going to get to that point again where Root and Stokes suddenly become very sneaky old as well.
Yeah.
And then you've got a top 6 without anyone with any quality. We see how precious things are. Stokes has had his difficulties. He's missed a lot of cricket in the last year. There's no reason potentially why in a year or so's time he might not miss another year. He might not play Test cricket. You don't know what's going to happen. Joe Root might think, I've had enough. Test cricket's been too much for me. I've played my 100 Test matches. I'm going to go and put my feet up a little bit and have a bit of fun in the white ball arena. Yeah. We don't know how soon it'll be when we have got nobody in that top 6 that you can hang your hat on.
Yeah,
so it's time to get these players in alongside Joe Root when Joe Root is being arguably the best that's ever done it.
Yeah.
With a bat for England.
Definitely for England. Last point, and I like this. We're finishing on positives, Rich. So I'll go, you go, and we'll go when we run out. I'm going.
Oh, Christ.
Joe Root, greatest year of an English batsman.
Yep, absolutely. Can't agree anymore. Do whatever we can to look after that man and keep him going. Holly Robinson, I think he's done pretty well. 9 wickets at 26, I think it is. Done pretty well for England.
I'd say that's pretty well. I think he's
done well.
Out of everyone that's come in to the Test arena from an England team, he's the best. I think is what I'd like to say. He's got 37 wickets at 21 for England this year. Out of everyone that's taken 37 wickets, that's the 14th highest average of all time. In essence, he's the 14th best bowler that's ever played Test cricket that's took 37 wickets. That's pretty useful. Positives. Jimmy Anderson's spell was he bowled one in 2017 at Adelaide, which was world class. This was world class with being a little bit more unlucky, but at 39, I still think there's a couple of years left in him because he can still bowl 85 mile an hour and swing it round corners.
Fair enough. I hope he continues. I really do. I hope he keeps going on. I mean, he's not far off 40, is he now?
Yeah.
So it depends how long he's got left, but I really do hope he continues. Positives. Positive is going to. Hopefully, we'll see some of the other guys in the squad. have a game of cricket in the next game. So maybe Overton gets an opportunity. Maybe Don Best gets an opportunity. Why not? There's no harm, is there?
Mark Wood.
Dan Lawrence as well. Sorry, Dan Lawrence. I missed him out.
Dan Lawrence. I think Mark Wood has been exceptional. He bowled I think he bowled a whole day. I might be wrong on that, where his average pace was over 150k. He's dangerous, and any team in the world would want him bowling like this in their team. He has been exceptional and mighty unlucky.
Oh, fair enough. I'll take that one as well. Yeah, I'm struggling now, mate. Ben Stokes being back in international cricket. I'll just quickly say that Ben Stokes being back, he's not the player he was. He will get back to that, I'm absolutely sure, but it's great to see him back.
Ollie Robinson bowling off spin, David Milan bowling leg spin. One of the highlights of 2021. We're a shambles.
So we don't need a spinner then, do we? Just let them lads twirl away. It's fine.
And we caught better. Our catching has improved.
Well, it couldn't have been any worse, could it?
No, we're probably catching at a moderate level.
Sorry, I've gone ultra negative now. I refuse to hear one more positive.
I think that's us done, mate. We
can't do any more.
We've gone over an hour. The fourth test, Sydney, I have seen on Twitter, is going ahead. There's a huge Omicron.
That was nearly the biggest positive of the series. I got so excited when there was some positive tests in that camp. Obviously, I hope they're all okay. But I was so excited. I was thinking, right, that's it. Just call the series off. Send us home. 2-0 to Australia. Well, you didn't really win the series, did you? It was 2-0 out of a 5-match series. Who knows what could have happened?
Yeah, so that test looked like it's going to go ahead in Sydney, mate. So New Year, Sydney, 4-0, maybe some changes for England, and maybe just possibly a little bit of optimism for this English team. So thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope this has been therapeutic for you, especially the positives, and looking forward to the future of English cricket on what has been a difficult time. Yeah.
I just want to jump in with one thing before we wrap up, mate. I just want to say, I hope everyone had an amazing Christmas or holiday season if you don't actually do Christmas, and just look forward to the new year. It's been a crap couple of years overall, hasn't it, for everybody? So just a bit of optimism as we go into 2022, hopefully, and just we start looking forward to the summer again.
Optimism prime. We'll leave it with that. We'll see you guys next time.